In this episode, we talked to a good buddy of mine out of Georgia, Woodstock, Georgia to be exact, John Cloonan. He's spent many, many years in marketing, and he's got an enormous amount of knowledge and experience and expertise on how you can actually use tools to grow. And so, without further ado, I want to get into a conversation with John. But before I do that, please subscribe to our podcast, give us a review, let us know how we're doing. We do this so that we can help you to rule and control what you're growing and how you're growing. So we'd love to know how we're doing. And so don't be afraid, don't hesitate to give us a review, give us a rating. We'd love to know. And so without further ado, I want to go right into a conversation with John Cloonan. Let's go.
Hey, Ricardo.
It's so good to have you, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for stopping by on our podcast today. We're so excited to talk about you and what you've been doing, and always happy to chat with you. So before we get started, why don't we just dive into tell us who you are and what you do.
So my name's John Cloonan. I am the owner of Audacity Marketing, who we're a strategic marketing company focusing mainly on B2B, but we start with strategy. So we're an integrated marketing organization. So
Awesome. And how did you get to marketing? I mean, were you always into marketing? How did you get to this point from marketing?
no, it was an absolute accident. I started in marketing because I finished my undergraduate and had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So I spent a few years building a really weird resume, racing motorcycles, teaching inline skating. I worked in theater. I did all kinds of crazy stuff. And then took a temp job at a civil engineering firm, and they discovered I could write, English major. So, so they put me in charge of writing proposals, which led into, the marketing group there. They were a national firm, and the marketing department there said, "Hey, this guy's, close rate's pretty good. Let's see what else he can do." And then I got into it, and then started, looking into how I might expand my skill set, both, from a practical, like what can I actually do standpoint, and then what can I learn from a strategic standpoint. Eventually I got an MBA, spent 15 odd years in corporate, and another 10 or so in agency, and here I am. So
awesome. What a journey. That's fantastic.
it was pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. That's awesome though. I love it. So we were talking about the tools, and tell us the tool that you want to talk to us about today, and what is it? And let's dive into that.
Yeah, so I was, while I have like you and I were talking about at one point, Ricardo, is I have a fairly broad spectrum of marketing automation tools under my belt, but I'd like to specifically talk about HubSpot, just because I feel like there's a lot of implementations of HubSpot that aren't getting fully utilized, and people aren't aware of what everything it can do.
Awesome. So what is HubSpot for those listeners who don't know what HubSpot is? What is HubSpot essentially?
So HubSpot's a lot of different things. First thing is they go to market originally with a CRM tool, and that CRM tool is available for free forever, which is kind of neat. But they also have, they have a marketing automation suite, which manages email and social media. They have sales tools, which helps, run your pipeline, and it all integrates with the CRM suite. They're also a content powerhouse. They can also build landing page. You can even build your landing pages and your website through the HubSpot tool.
Amazing. And so a tool like this, I mean, who would you say this is good for? I mean, are we talking about large companies, small companies? Who is a typical or good target for a tool like this?
I think it's a small to medium company. A lot of an organization that has a very small team in marketing, a couple people. Um, Also good for smaller, like for startups, for sales. HubSpot has a great startup program where if you are part of an incubator or have taken seed money or both, you can get a very, very significant discount on it. And that helps, because a lot of very small companies don't invest in CRM and marketing automation technology in the early stages because they simply can't afford it. And by doing this, they create an easy point of entry, and then and you can grow and scale with the tool. So I would say it's a small to medium business tool. So,
Awesome, awesome. And so how is it different though? Like, I'm sure they weren't the first one who came around, but how is it different from alternatives that you know about?
well, I mean, one of them is just, is particularly the cost of entry is significantly less expensive, which is a big deal. The other thing is they're highly integratable, both internally. So each module works super well with the other modules, but it's also it's easy to integrate with other tools that you might be using, both freeware and paid tools. And I found that a lot of the more expensive systems tend to be a little more difficult to integrate. So
Nice. So they've really sort of solved that integration challenge, and we'll talk about that shortly. But
yeah.
can we talk about some practical things then that you could do in HubSpot? So I got the
No,
tool, like go in there, walk me through some of the practical things that I could do as a business owner or a
I
small
think,
business person.
I think the first thing that I always like to see an organization do when they go in using the tool is get the CRM set up properly, get the data points that you want to track that are specific to your sales pipeline. If you're using the sales module, that also makes it very easy to set up your notifications for your sales team and to essentially like divvy out leads. Um, Other things you can do, classic email marketing. The email marketing suite is super robust. If you're not tech savvy, if you don't have an HTML background, it's drag and drop editing. Um, you can use it to manage, the CRM portion will manage the contact side of that. You can create target lists and very, very refined targeting, which is a key to making your marketing ROI, your higher ROI in your marketing and email. But even like looking at an email campaign, right, from soup to nuts, you can do it all within HubSpot. So you can build the lists in the CRM tool. You can have the sales team add to those lists from the sales module. You can build the landing, you can build the email itself with the drag and drop editor. You can build the landing page with the drag and drop editor. So it's a soup to nuts integration that's very easy to use, particularly for a newer marketing team.
Nice. I love it. That sounds really great. And then so integration wise, back to integration again.
Mhm.
So what are some of the things that you can like literally integrate with HubSpot right now?
So some of the things that I'm big on event marketing. Uh, so using periodic events as a lead capture device based on a content strategy. So you build all the content. Um, so thinking about it from that perspective, like you can either use HubSpot as a blog, or you can integrate your actual WordPress blog into it, so it will capture that content, and then you can redistribute that content in an email form or in social media, also from within HubSpot. Um, Another integration that's super easy is with Eventbrite. Um, HubSpot and Eventbrite work well together for lead capture and registration, and then for day of event, you can use that to determine whether people are actually supposed to be in the room or in the webinar. Um, It also integrates with Zoom and does something very similar there. So you can have multiple channels of event registration that all tie into the CRM. And then you can use that for the follow-up on the back end. So it integrates with a lot of different event tools, particularly freeware stuff, and common stuff that small businesses use. WordPress, Eventbrite, Zoom. It does have a Teams integration, an MS Teams integration. I find that a little bit clunky. It's not as easy to set up, but it does work. I've done it. It's just, it's not quite as simple as doing a Zoom integration.
This podcast is sponsored by MeisterTask, the most intuitive task manager on the web. MeisterTask is an easy-to-use project management tool, makes it easy and fun and colorful to get all your projects managed in one place. As an entrepreneur, I use MeisterTask to help me manage all of my projects. I can drag and drop different tasks. I can assign key people to the task. I can set deadlines and schedules and enjoy just beautiful colors while I do that. So if you are interested in trying MeisterTask, go to meistertask.com/DMT tools. That's meistertask.com/DMT tools. And you can sign up for a free trial when you upgrade to the Pro plan. So get started for free today and invite your team members and get productive together. Nice. So it seems like you can do a lot of stuff from an integration perspective there.
Yeah.
And then for folks who are listening, if anybody interested in using this tool or accessing this tool, what is it that they need to do first? Is the tool free? Is it paid? Is it a premium? Can we talk a little about that?
Sure. There's different ways, so there's different ways to access it, right? I mean, there's a freeware. HubSpot, has a freemium model, right? So they have a freeware CRM that's always free forever, essentially, no matter how many contacts you have within that CRM. But then there's bolt-on modules to that, to the CRM, the sales module, the marketing module, a social media module. There's also a web and landing page module, an additional one up and beyond the email. So as you bolt more and more on, of course, you incur additional costs. But again, like going back to the startup, if you meet certain criteria, you can get, I believe it's 90% off of the tool set. And that's a really high value. So overall, what I suggest people do is, sign up for the CRM, get the data right in the CRM, because, Ricardo, you're very well versed in, how wonderful bad data can be for your sales efforts. Get your data right in the CRM, and then look at how you might want to use the tool, right? If you want to do email marketing, okay, so I need the marketing automation piece or the marketing module. If you want to use it to manage your sales team, bolt on the sales module, and just be aware that there's costs associated with that.
Yeah, nice. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I know staying in business for years, being on this journey is not easy. Curious to know, how have you done it, and what would you say has been the best thing, or the best accomplishment that you're proud of that has happened to you?
So, what a lot of people aren't aware is this is actually my second marketing agency. I built one so I have a thing for starting agencies during recessions. So I built one from 2008 to 2010. I sold in 2010, due to some personal stuff, and then went back into corporate life. I spent 15 years in corporate and then came back here because I realized and this is actually my fourth business as well. It's not, second agency and fourth company. But, the thing that I would say is just persistence, is, and continuing to try to do things a little differently than everybody else. I present very differently than a lot of other agencies. I take a different approach. Like Audacity's big marketing differentiator is perspective, because even though I'm, an old white man, I've made a point of having partners who are different from me, ethnically diverse, age differentiation, gender differences, because I truly am a believer that you get better creative and better results if you have different people from different backgrounds in the room. So, consistency and differentiation would probably be the two biggest things, I would say, and just kind of sticking with it. So.
Awesome. That sounds great. I mean, persistency is definitely key. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to share with us today, John?
Wow. There's, I really want to go back to differentiation and targeting, right? Because something that I see a lot of organizations really fail at is understanding that not every company and not every product is for every person, or for every customer. Because, not even toilet paper has a universal, right? I mean, there are people who don't use it and don't buy it. So you want to make sure that you understand, who do you resonate with, you know, because if you're not targeted properly, it's hard to get good ROI from your marketing programs. Because if you're trying to reach everybody, there's very, very few products that are reasonably universal, and they're usually commoditized B2C stuff. But if you have a differentiated product, you need to understand that you're going to be in some kind of a niche, no matter what.
Nice. Nice. Well, I have one question that I didn't ask you, and it's
Hmm.
really around books and podcasts. So we
Sure.
like to find out what kind of books you're reading or have read that you can share with others today, and maybe one or two podcasts that you listen to regularly.
Sure. So there's from a podcast perspective, there's a woman named Julie B who focuses on leadership. I listen religiously to her podcast, and I can never remember what it's called. But it's Julie B, like as in BEE, like the honeybee kind of thing.
Hmm.
And she has a really different perspective on leadership, because it's not glorifying. She doesn't tend to glorify a lot of these like big business leaders, the canonization of Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Bezos, and she doesn't look to them as business leaders. She recognizes their value as innovators, but they're not necessarily leaders, and she focuses definitely on day-to-day leadership of teams, and I think that's an ignored, it's kind of an ignored resource. Um, Books, I suck up reading like there's no tomorrow. I'm on a kick on right now. On a social media kick, but it's more about understanding the negatives of social media. So there's a philosopher, a guy named Matt Crawford, who wrote a great book called Shop Class as Soulcraft. But his book, The World Beyond Your Head, um, is a great understanding of how algorithms were designed essentially with a casino gambling methodology. And he ties those two things together pretty nicely. Um, Matt's not the easiest read, I have to say, because he goes into some pretty deep philosophical concepts. So, you know, I read a lot, and I still end up reading his stuff two or three times before I feel like I truly get it. Um, Another one is Jaron Lanier, 10 Arguments for Deleting Your Social Media Accounts Right Now. Um, Jaron is a social media developer and executive. He's worked at Google. He's worked at Facebook. I believe he spent a little time at Twitter. But he's been in the trenches in these companies and understands these algorithms from a developer's and a mathematician's perspective. And understands the big concept that if you're getting all of this for free, then you're the product. So, and why you should be aware of that and how it feeds society. Does that help me in my business? I don't know. But it's something that fascinates me, just because I don't think people fully understand social media and algorithms, because you talk to people older than me or my age and older, and some of them don't even understand the idea that there is an intelligence curating your feed, right, in any of these programs, and just getting people to understand that, I think, has value. So
Wow, that's powerful. And can you repeat those two books again for us?
sure. Yeah, one of them
10
was
ways to, you said it was 10 ways to, go ahead, go ahead.
the author is Jaron Lanier,
Darren Lanier, uh-huh.
and the title is roughly 10 Reasons to Delete Your Social Media Accounts Right Now.
Okay.
And the other one is Matthew Crawford. The book and the particular book about social media and algorithms is called The World Beyond Your Head.
The World Beyond Your Head. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John. This is exciting. I really love this conversation. This won't be the last. We'd love to check in on you in a couple of months to see how you're doing
Awesome.
and what else is rocking your world. Love talking with you, and thank you. I really hope folks get some good extracts from this they can apply immediately to their business. So until next time, we'll definitely talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ricardo. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. That was John Cloonan. Amazing conversation with John about HubSpot, and give HubSpot a shot if you can. Practical ways that you can get to use HubSpot right now. Take those steps to control how you want to grow your business. Until next time, folks, we're going to be bringing you another guest with another amazing tool that you can use right away. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, though. Don't forget to leave us a review. Give us a rating. Would love to hear from you. But until next time, choose a tool to rule your growth. Talk soon.